Hey everyone, and welcome to our deep dive today,
Yeah,
where we're going to be tackling, I think, a topic pretty much everyone listening can relate to,
absolutely.
like understanding and managing emotions.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to be drawing wisdom from clinical psychologist Dr. Julie Smith's book,
Okay.
Why Has Nobody Told Me This Before?
I love that book.
Yeah, a great book.
So good.
And, it's packed with insights, and I'm sure anyone listening is going to walk away
Oh, for sure.
with some really practical tools
As
to
there.
navigate life's,
Life's ups and downs.
ups and downs.
Yeah.
It's really all about that.
Well, Dr. Smith, she just has this way, of
Mm.
making this complex world of emotions
Okay.
so accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
And her book, it's like this treasure trove of strategies
Okay.
rooted in therapy,
Yeah.
but really designed for anyone to use in everyday life.
Yeah. And that's so important because
Okay.
I think sometimes people feel like, oh, therapy, that's not for me.
Right.
But actually, a lot of the things that therapists talk about are really just,
Life skills.
life skills that we can all benefit from.
Absolutely. And I'm really intrigued by how she empowers people
Yeah.
to kind of become these active participants
Mm-hmm.
in shaping their own, emotional well-being.
It's so empowering
You know,
to
yes.
realize that we actually have more influence over our emotions than
Yeah.
we often think.
We really do.
And, she's very clear in the book that it's not about
Right.
magically choosing our feelings.
Exactly.
It's
yes.
more about
It's about understanding
your-
factors at play.
all those different factors
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
that contribute to our emotions.
Yeah.
And she kind of gives us this, this backstage pass
Yes.
to how our minds work.
Exactly. And she emphasizes that it's not all in our heads.
Right.
Right? Our emotions,
Yeah.
they're influenced by so many things. Our physical state,
Okay.
our relationships, past experiences, environment,
Like everything.
lifestyle choices.
Yeah.
It's the whole
Like that-
picture.
It all comes together.
It really does.
I think there's this great anecdote that she shares in the book that really resonated with me.
Oh, tell me about it.
She talks about how often in therapy she hears her patients say,
Okay.
"Why has nobody told me this before?"
Yeah.
And, it just goes to show how much we all crave this practical knowledge
They do.
about our emotions and how
Yeah.
to, how to work with them effectively.
Mm-hmm.
And to be honest, I've had that thought myself too.
Of course.
Like why didn't I know this sooner?
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
So we're not alone
No, not at all.
in wanting a better understanding of this, really complex terrain.
Exactly. And I think that's why Dr. Smith's book is so valuable.
Yeah.
Because she breaks it down
Yeah.
into these bite-sized pieces.
Totally. And she really gets to the core
She does.
of, what's going on
Mm.
and gives us these practical strategies to
Mhm,
work
mhm.
with.
Let's talk about those instant relief traps that she talks about.
Right.
Like those quick fixes that we often gravitate towards when our mood dips.
Yeah.
Things like binge watching TV,
Yeah.
scrolling endlessly on social media,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe reaching for, that extra treat.
Oh, yeah, I've been there.
We all have.
For sure.
And while they might provide this temporary distraction,
Right.
the key takeaway here is that they can actually worsen our mood in the long run.
Okay, so you're saying they backfire.
They can backfire.
Yeah.
So if you're listening and you find yourself reaching for those quick fixes
Right.
when you're feeling down, just be aware
Okay.
that it might actually make things worse.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
It's like putting a Band-Aid on a deeper wound.
Exactly.
You're covering it up,
Right.
but you're not actually dealing with the underlying issue.
You're not getting to the root of the problem.
Exactly. And speaking of things that can sabotage our mood,
Yeah.
Dr. Smith, she talks about these thought patterns
Oh, yeah.
or biases.
Those sneaky little things.
Yeah, they really mess with us
They do.
without us even realizing it.
Sometimes we don't even know they're happening.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she dives into several common ones.
Oh, yeah. She gives us some great examples.
Like, what are some of the ones that stood out to you?
Well, there's mind reading,
Okay.
where we just assume
Right.
we know what other people are thinking
Oh, yeah.
without any real evidence.
Yeah, like if a colleague walks by
Yeah.
and doesn't say hello,
Right.
we immediately jump to the conclusion that they're upset with us.
Exactly. But the reality could be totally different.
Right. They could just be,
They could be preoccupied.
yeah, preoccupied or,
They didn't see you.
didn't even see us.
Right. Exactly.
Oh, I'm totally guilty of that one.
I think we all are.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a common one.
What about some of the other ones?
Well, there's overgeneralization,
Okay.
where we take one negative experience and apply it to our entire life.
Right. Like that one bad date.
Exactly.
And you're never going to find love.
Oh, yeah. I've definitely fallen into that trap before.
I think we've all been there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so easy to let these, you know,
These thought patterns.
thought patterns dictate how we feel.
Mm-hmm.
But Dr. Smith reminds us that these biases,
Right.
they're not reflections of reality.
No, they're not.
They're just distortions created by our minds.
It's our mind playing tricks on us.
Yeah, so becoming aware of them
Yeah.
is absolutely crucial.
It's the first step to
Right.
kind of breaking free.
Because once we recognize them,
Yeah.
then we can start to challenge
maybe
their
that's it.
validity and prevent them from having so much power over us.
We can take back control.
Exactly.
That's the goal.
So
Yeah.
now that we're aware of these mood saboteurs,
Okay.
let's talk about what we can do to fight back.
Yes. Let's get into the tools.
Dr. offers a lot of practical techniques
She does.
for building a healthier mind. And she calls them life skills,
I love that.
not just therapy skills, because they're beneficial for everyone,
Absolutely.
whether you're seeking, professional help or not.
It's about equipping ourselves
Yeah.
with the skills to navigate life,
Exactly.
no matter what challenges we face.
One technique that she talks about is getting distance
Okay.
from our emotions.
That's a good one.
And this isn't about suppressing
Right.
or denying how we feel.
No, it's not about pushing it down.
It's more about taking a step back
Yeah.
and observing those feelings without judgment.
Creating space.
Yeah, it's like creating a little space.
Between you and the emotion so
Yeah.
you can see it more clearly.
Right, like you're not getting swept away by it.
Exactly.
You're kind of like watching a movie.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So you're experiencing the emotions of the characters,
Okay.
but you're not getting completely lost in the plot.
Right.
You're maintaining that sense of separation,
Yeah.
knowing that it's just a story unfolding on the screen. It's
Mhm.
not your own reality.
That's a great way to think about it.
And Dr. Smith, she actually provides really clear steps on how to do this.
Oh, fantastic.
So it's not just this abstract concept.
No, it's very practical.
She makes it really accessible for anyone to try.
I love that about her work.
Yeah, for sure.
She really breaks it down
Yeah.
into those actionable steps.
Another tool that I found helpful
Okay.
was about combating rumination,
Oh, rumination.
which is that pesky habit of
Yeah.
overthinking.
Like a broken record.
Yeah, it just keeps playing those same negative thoughts
Over again.
over and over again in our minds. And to break free from this cycle,
Oh, my God.
Dr. Smith suggests asking this simple but powerful question.
What is it?
What would I do if I were at my best?
That's good.
And it just shifts our focus from dwelling on the problem
Okay.
to actually thinking about what actions we can take.
Yeah, taking action. Yeah.
Even small actions can make such a difference,
Absolutely.
especially when we feel stuck,
Yeah.
overwhelmed.
Right.
Sometimes just taking a walk,
Right.
listening to some music,
Yeah.
or doing something we enjoy
Totally.
can really help.
And it just kind of breaks that cycle
Yeah, it shifts our
of
energy.
negative thinking.
Absolutely.
Dr. Smith also talks about cultivating a gratitude habit,
Oh, I love that.
which I thought was a really insightful point.
It's so powerful.
She suggests taking a few moments each day
Okay.
to write down 3 things
3 things
that you're grateful for.
that you're thankful for.
And it's like we're training our brain
Yeah.
to actually focus on those positive aspects of our lives.
Even when things are tough.
Even amidst challenges,
Yeah.
it's so easy to get caught up
Right.
in the negative.
It is.
But this is a way to really counteract that.
It's like building a muscle.
Yeah.
The more we practice gratitude,
Yeah.
the more our minds will naturally.
Gravitate towards the good.
It's like we're rewiring our brains to
Yeah.
focus on the positive.
And it's such a simple practice.
It is.
But the benefits are profound.
Totally.
It can really change your whole outlook.
Yeah, and I think it's something that we can all benefit from.
Absolutely.
Whether you're feeling,
Yeah.
stressed or anxious or,
Even if you're feeling good,
yeah, even if you're feeling good.
it's always good to cultivate that gratitude.
Absolutely.
It just brings more joy into your life.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground already,
We have.
but this is really just the tip of the iceberg.
It is.
There's so much more to uncover in Dr. Smith's book.
I'm excited to dive deeper.
Me too. So
Yeah.
stay tuned
Yeah.
for the next part of our deep dive,
Can't wait.
where we'll explore even more strategies
Yeah.
for understanding and managing our emotions.
Awesome. Let's do it.
All right, we'll be right back.
Sounds good. So, when we talk about emotions, I think we often overlook the power of words. And Dr. Smith highlights this really well.
Interesting.
She talks about the importance of expanding our emotional vocabulary.
Oh, okay.
It's not just happy or sad.
Right.
There's this whole spectrum of nuances
I see.
in between.
Yeah. That's so true. I
Right.
think sometimes we limit ourselves
Me too.
with those really basic labels.
Yeah, and when we have more precise words,
Hmm.
it helps us really pinpoint how we're feeling,
Right?
and it allows us to communicate those feelings more effectively.
To ourselves and to others?
Yes.
Like we have a more detailed map
Yes.
of our inner world.
It's like having a richer emotional vocabulary
Mm,
gives us more clarity.
I see.
And it's not just about communication.
Uh,
There's actually research
oh, wow.
that shows people who can distinguish between
Yeah.
these subtle negative emotions.
Okay.
They tend to be less reactive to rejection,
It's interesting.
they have lower anxiety,
Mm.
and they experience fewer depressive symptoms.
That's fascinating.
Yeah,
So just by expanding our vocabulary,
exactly.
we can actually have a real impact
It can have a profound impact
on our well-being.
on our overall well-being.
I love that.
So I think it's a challenge for all of us listening.
Okay, I'm ready.
Try to learn a new emotion word every day.
I like that.
Just one.
Yeah.
It could really open up a
Mhm.
whole new level of self-understanding.
Yeah, why not give it a try?
Exactly.
All right, so let's shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about another really powerful emotion,
Okay.
fear.
Fear.
You know, it can be both empowering
Mm-hmm.
and debilitating.
Absolutely.
It really depends on how we relate to it.
Right. And Dr. Smith, she talks about how fear,
Yeah.
it's this natural human response that
Mhm.
protects us from danger.
Right, it keeps us safe.
E-
And
Exactly.
It can also keep us stuck
Yes.
in our comfort zones.
Right.
You know, preventing us
Yeah.
from going after those things that we
Right.
really want.
Goals, aspirations.
I think there's that saying,
Yeah.
feel the fear and do it anyway.
Oh, I love that saying.
Yeah.
It's so true.
But how do we actually overcome that fear
Right. How do we put it into practice?
and move forward?
Well, Dr. Smith, she suggests starting by recognizing our fear,
Okay.
understanding what triggers it.
So awareness is key.
Awareness is key.
I got it.
And she introduces this concept called the learning model,
Okay.
which helps us identify those areas in our lives where we feel comfortable,
Okay.
those that present a manageable challenge,
Right.
and those that evoke intense fear or avoidance.
I see it.
So it's about gradually
Mm.
pushing ourselves
Yeah.
just outside of our comfort zones
Okay.
to expand those zones.
Right. And build confidence along the way.
Exactly.
It's like little by
Little by little,
we're stretching ourselves.
stretching and growing.
Yeah.
And Dr. Smith reminds us
Mm.
that true confidence doesn't happen overnight.
No. It's a process.
It's a process.
It takes time.
It takes time and effort.
Yeah. And I love how she says,
Yeah.
courage precedes confidence.
Oh, that's so powerful.
It's about taking those brave steps,
Yeah.
even when we don't feel confident yet.
Even when we're scared,
Yeah.
we do it anyway.
And the confidence will follow
It will.
as we gain experience.
And as we prove to ourselves
Okay,
that we can
yes.
handle it.
that we can do hard things.
Exactly.
It's not about waiting until we feel confident.
No.
It's about taking action.
And building that confidence.
Yeah. And I think it's important to remember
Yes.
that we need to be kind to ourselves
Absolutely. Self-compassion
throughout this process.
is essential.
You know, it's okay to feel fear.
It's a normal human emotion.
Yeah. And setbacks are a natural part of growth.
They are.
So we need to be our own cheerleaders,
Yes.
not our own worst critics.
It's about supporting ourselves
Exactly.
through those challenges.
Yeah, because we're all going to face them.
We are.
And, you know, speaking of support, Dr. Smith, she offers this beautiful visualization technique
Oh, tell me about it.
called the perfect nurturer.
Okay.
And it involves conjuring an image of a person,
Okay.
either real or imagined,
Okay.
who embodies
Yeah.
this unwavering support
Wow.
and encouragement.
So someone who really believes in you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And when you're facing a challenge,
Mhm.
you can mentally turn to this figure
That's beautiful.
for reassurance
Yeah.
and guidance.
Like an inner mentor.
Yeah, and just remembering
Mm-hmm.
that you're not alone in your struggles.
I love that.
Yeah, it's so powerful.
It is.
All right, so let's move into the realm of social interactions
Okay.
and talk about dealing with criticism
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
and disapproval.
It is.
You know, it's natural to care
It,
what other
yeah.
people think.
Our brains are wired for connection.
Right, we're social creatures.
We are.
And so, you know, those negative judgments,
Yeah.
they can really sting,
They can.
Yeah.
Especially when they come from people we care about.
especially those people that are closest to us.
Exactly.
But Dr. Smith, she challenges this idea
Okay.
that we should just stop caring
Oh,
what other people think altogether.
I see.
Instead,
Yeah.
she encourages us to discern
Okay.
between constructive criticism,
Right.
which can be really valuable for our growth.
For learning and growing.
And those unfounded judgments that
Right.
often stem from others' insecurities.
Or their own projections.
Yeah, it's not really about us at all.
Often not.
So it's about filtering out the noise
Yeah.
and focusing on the feedback that truly matters.
Right. Because not everyone's opinion
Yeah.
carries the same weight.
That's so important to remember.
It is.
And I love how Dr. Smith talks about the dangers of people-pleasing.
Oh, yes.
Where we're constantly putting others' needs
above our own.
ahead of our own.
Yeah.
And it can really deplete us.
It can.
So it's about setting boundaries.
Yeah. Healthy boundaries.
And asserting our own values
Right.
in our relationships.
Even if it means risking disapproval.
Because sometimes those relationships
Sometimes
aren't meant to be.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It's about finding those people who truly support us.
Who celebrate us.
And accept us for who we are.
Exactly.
And Dr. Smith, she actually provides tips.
Oh, that's great.
For responding to criticism in a way that minimizes that negative impact.
Because it's going to happen.
It is.
People are going to criticize us.
Yeah, that's part of life.
Yeah.
So how can we handle it?
So how can we deal with it in a healthy way?
Well, one technique she talks about is reality checking.
Reality checking.
So we examine the validity of the criticism and separate objective feedback from those subjective interpretations.
It's like taking a step back and asking ourselves, is this criticism based on facts or is it just someone's opinion?
I love that.
And she also emphasizes the importance of self-worth.
Self-worth.
Recognizing that our inherent value doesn't depend on
Right.
external validation.
I have flawless performance.
Exactly. We are worthy
Yeah.
just as we are.
Just by being us.
And when we have that strong foundation of self-worth, criticism doesn't feel so personal.
Right, because it doesn't like completely shatter our identity.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she also digs into the difference between guilt and shame.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
So guilt comes from specific behaviors.
Right, like something we did.
Exactly.
Okay.
And shame attacks our core identity.
So it's like feeling bad about who we are as a person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I see the distinction.
And guilt can actually be motivating.
Oh, okay.
It can prompt us to make amends, learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
Whereas shame can lead to
like hiding.
Self-loathing.
Withdrawal.
And it can be really destructive.
It can.
So it's important to recognize those shaming voices.
Whether they're coming from external sources or our own inner critic.
You challenge them.
Challenge them and replace them with more compassionate self-talk.
That's so important.
It is.
And it's a practice. It's not something that happens overnight.
It takes time.
So we got to be patient with ourselves.
Absolutely. And Dr. Smith, she talks about how we can actually transform criticism into an opportunity for growth.
I love that.
Sure.
Instead of letting it diminish us.
Instead of letting it tear us down.
Okay. So we've covered a lot of ground on navigating criticism.
We have.
What other insightful gems does Dr. Smith offer?
Well, let's talk about grief.
Yeah.
It's something that we all experience at some point in our lives.
Right. And we often associate it with death.
We do.
But Dr. Smith points out that grief can arise from any significant loss, any significant ending or transition.
Yeah, like the end of a relationship.
Exactly.
Or losing a job.
Or even a major life change.
Right. So it's really a universal human experience.
It is.
And Dr. Smith challenges this common misconception that grief unfolds in stages.
Right, like those 5 stages of grief we often hear about.
That's linear.
Exactly, and she emphasizes that it's not like that at all.
Okay.
Grief is much more fluid.
I see.
Fluctuating.
So we might experience a range of emotions.
A whole range.
Yeah.
Sometimes even contradictory emotions.
Right, like you might feel sad one moment.
Yeah.
And then angry the next.
Exactly.
Or even experience moments of joy.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It's all part of the process.
So there's no right or wrong way to grieve.
Exactly.
We need to honor our own unique experiences.
Our own journey and not compare ourselves to others.
Because everyone grieves differently.
Everyone grieves differently.
And Dr. Smith also talks about how the intensity and duration of grief can vary widely.
It can.
Depending on the circumstances.
The nature of the loss.
And she says there's no timeline.
No timeline for healing.
We all heal at our own pace.
We can't rush it.
We can't rush it.
And she also dispels this notion that in order to heal, we have to let go of the person or experience that we've lost.
Interesting.
And she says it's actually possible
Yay.
to maintain a connection
Yeah.
to those we've loved while also embracing the present and moving forward.
So it's not about forgetting.
No, it's about integrating
Those memories
into our lives
in a healthy way.
in a way that feels right for us.
Exactly.
And she cautions against suppressing our grief
Yeah.
because those unresolved emotions,
They can come back to haunt us.
yeah,
They can resurface
in unhealthy ways.
in unexpected ways.
So it's important to allow ourselves
Or feel it.
to feel those feelings.
Yeah. And to process them.
To process them in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And she offers this framework for understanding
Okay.
the tasks of mourning.
What are those tasks?
Well, first we have to acknowledge the reality of the loss.
Okay.
We have to process the pain and emotions that come up.
Yeah.
We have to adjust to life without that person or experience.
Yeah.
And we have to find ways to maintain a connection
Okay.
while also embracing the present and moving forward.
It sounds like a really multifaceted process.
It is.
And it's not linear.
No, it's not.
Messy.
It's messy and unpredictable.
Yeah.
But it's important to be patient with ourselves.
Yeah, and be kind to ourselves.
Absolutely. Self-compassion is crucial.
And also to seek support,
Yeah.
from those people.
From trusted individuals.
Who care about us.
Yeah.
And who can offer a listening ear.
And a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah.
Dr. Smith also emphasizes the importance of self-care
Oh, of course.
during this time. It's important to prioritize rest.
Right.
To nourish our bodies with nutritious foods,
Yeah.
to engage in gentle exercise, and to seek out those activities that bring us joy.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
No, it's about finding that balance between honoring our grief and allowing ourselves
Experience moments of joy.
to experience moments of joy and lightness.
And she also talks of the power of ritual.
Oh, yeah.
And remembrance in honoring the memory of those we've lost.
Creating those meaningful ways to commemorate their lives
Yeah.
can bring a lot of comfort.
It's a way to keep their memory alive.
Exactly.
And I love how Dr. Smith encourages us to be patient with ourselves as we navigate this unpredictable journey.
Because there will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
There will be good days and bad days.
And it's all part of the process.
It is.
We're not going to feel the same way every day.
No.
And that's okay.
That's okay.
So let's shift our focus now to another really powerful emotion.
Okay.
Anger.
Anger, yeah.
And Dr. Smith emphasizes that anger, like all emotions, serves a purpose.
It does.
It can alert us to injustices, motivate us to protect ourselves
Set boundaries.
or others,
Right.
and even fuel our pursuit of change.
So it can be a powerful force for good.
Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Right.
But it makes sense.
It does.
That anger can actually
It can be a catalyst for
a
change.
positive force.
Yes.
But of course,
Yeah.
when anger becomes excessive
Right.
or expressed in destructive ways,
Yeah.
it can be really harmful.
It can damage relationships,
Yeah.
erode our self-control,
Right.
and lead to,
Negative consequences.
negative consequences.
So it's about finding that balance.
Yes.
Right? Acknowledging and expressing our anger
Yes.
in a healthy way
In a constructive way.
without letting it control us.
Without letting it take over. And Dr. Smith, she cautions against suppressing anger.
Okay.
Because that unresolved anger, it can manifest in unhealthy ways.
Like, what are some examples?
Well, passive aggression,
Okay.
resentment,
Yeah.
or those explosive outbursts.
Right. It's like it builds up
It builds up like a pressure cooker.
and then eventually explodes.
Exactly.
So instead of suppressing it,
Right.
Dr. Smith encourages us
Mm-hmm.
to find healthy ways
Yes.
to process it,
To go process that anger.
to understand the root cause, and to address it
In a way that feels authentic.
in a way that feels good for us.
And empowering.
Yeah.
And she highlights this important distinction between anger and aggression.
Oh, okay.
So anger is a transient emotion.
Okay.
It comes and goes.
Yeah, we all feel it.
We all feel it.
But aggression,
It's a choice.
it's a choice
to
to act in a harmful way.
Right. And that can have...
Really detrimental
Yes.
effects on ourselves and others.
So it's important to separate the feeling from the action.
Right. We don't have to act on every feeling.
Exactly. We have a choice.
Yeah.
And Dr. Smith, she provides some techniques
Okay, that's great.
for managing anger in the moment.
So when you're feeling that anger,
Yeah, when you're feeling triggered.
what can you do?
Well, you can engage in physical activity.
Okay. To release that energy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Practice deep breathing.
Yeah.
To calm the nervous system.
Right.
Or even use assertive communication.
Right, to communicate your needs.
To express your needs and boundaries.
So it's like we have this toolbox
Exactly.
filled with different tools.
And we can choose the right tool
yeah.
for the situation.
For that moment.
Yeah, and Dr. Smith, she also acknowledges that sometimes we need professional support.
Right.
To manage our anger effectively.
If it's really impacting our lives.
Exactly, if it's causing distress or harm.
Or if we're just struggling to manage it on our own.
It's okay to ask for help.
Absolutely.
There's no shame in that.
And I think that's something that's important to emphasize.
It is.
That we don't have to do this alone.
We don't.
There are resources available.
There are.
And people who care.
Who want to help.
Yeah.
So let's shift our focus now
to
fear and anxiety and how they're connected.
Right, because they often go hand in hand.
They do.
Yeah.
And Dr. Smith, she emphasizes that fear is this innate human emotion that has a very important evolutionary purpose.
So it's there for a reason.
To protect us.
It's like our internal alarm system.
Exactly.
It's telling us.
Signaling danger.
When we're in danger.
Yes.
But then what about anxiety?
Well, anxiety is what happens when that fear becomes excessive or disproportionate to the actual threat.
It's like our alarm system is malfunctioning.
It's going off when there's no real danger.
Yeah, and that can be really debilitating.
It can be.
It can really impact our lives.
It can impact our daily functioning, our well-being.
And Dr. Smith, she talks about the importance of distinguishing between rational fear and irrational fear.
So rational fear is a healthy response.
To a real threat.
To genuine danger.
Right.
Irrational fear is based on
perceived threats.
Perceived threats that may not actually exist.
Or that are exaggerated.
Right,
so it's about learning to separate.
The signal from the noise.
Yeah.
To identify the real threats from the ones that are just
products of our minds.
Products of our own minds.
And she also emphasizes that avoidance, while it might seem tempting, in the face of fear, it actually reinforces anxiety.
It strengthens that fear.
So we have to face our fears in order to overcome them.
It's the only way.
And she talks about how we can gradually build confidence.
Yes.
By venturing beyond our comfort zones.
By stretching ourselves.
And she calls this the learning model.
The learning model.
And it encourages us to identify those aspects of our lives that feel comfortable. Those that present a manageable challenge. And those that trigger intense fear or avoidance. And she says the key to growth lies in repeatedly.
Stepping outside of our comfort zone.
Stepping into that stretch zone.
The stretch zone.
Which is that space where we experienced a healthy level of discomfort. But it's that discomfort that helps us expand.
That helps us grow.
Our capacity to cope.
Exactly.
And Dr. Smith reminds us again that true confidence, it doesn't happen overnight.
It's a process.
It's built through experience.
Through repeated exposure.
Through facing our fears.
To those things that scare us. And proving to ourselves that we can handle them.
And that often the things that we fear are not as scary.
As we imagine them to be.
As we make them out to be in our minds.
Exactly. Our minds often exaggerate the threat.
Yeah. And she says courage precedes confidence.
Oh, that's so good.
It's about taking those brave steps.
Yeah.
Even when we don't feel ready.
Even when we're afraid.
And as we do that, we gather evidence that contradicts those fearful predictions.
We rewire our brains.
Yeah. And we start to associate those situations with a sense of mastery.
With a sense of accomplishment.
Rather than impending doom.
Exactly.
And of course, facing our fears.
It can be uncomfortable.
It can be really scary.
It can be.
But Dr. Smith reminds us to be kind to ourselves.
Be compassionate.
Throughout the process.
With ourselves.
And she offers that visualization technique.
The perfect nurturer.
The perfect nurturer. Where we conjure an image of someone who offers unwavering support.
Unwavering support and encouragement.
And we can turn to them in our minds when we need that extra boost.
When we need a reminder that we're not alone.
Yeah, it's such a powerful tool.
It is.
And with that, I think we'll wrap up part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah, this has been great.
I'm excited to continue the exploration.
Me too.
In part 3.
Where we'll delve into stress management, cultivating a meaningful life, and the complexities of relationships.
I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We're on the final part of our exploration of why has nobody told me this before? I feel like we've already uncovered so much, but I know there's still more to go.
Oh, there's definitely more to explore. And actually, we left off last time talking about fear and anxiety.
Yeah, we did.
But, let's shift our focus to stress.
Okay. Yeah, stress.
It's something that we all encounter and often view negatively.
It does have a bad reputation.
It does, right. But Dr. Smith offers a really interesting perspective on stress.
Okay. I'm all ears.
So she makes this distinction between stress, which is really our body's natural response to demands and challenges and anxiety, which is more about those perceived threats.
Yeah, those worries.
Exactly. And often those threats are exaggerated.
Or even unfounded.
Exactly.
So it's not really a real threat.
Right. But our minds make it seem like it is.
And so she's saying that stress in itself isn't actually harmful?
It's not. It's really our perception of it.
I see.
And how we manage it.
Okay.
That makes all the difference.
So it's not about like eliminating stress entirely.
No, not at all.
It's more about learning to navigate it effectively.
Learning to work with it.
Yeah.
And actually our capacity to handle stress, it can change depending on a lot of different things.
Like what kinds of things?
Our sleep quality.
Okay, yeah, that makes
Nutrition,
sense.
social support, even our sense of control.
Right, so it's really this holistic picture.
It's a whole body approach to managing stress.
And I love how you said earlier, it's about building resilience.
It is.
Strengthening our ability to bounce back from challenges.
To adapt and cope.
Yeah, and Dr. Smith, she cautions against relying on those quick fixes for stress management.
Those Band-Aid solutions.
Yeah, they might work temporarily.
They might, but for true sustainable well-being, we need to address the root causes.
Yeah, we have to go deeper.
We do.
Than just like masking those symptoms.
Exactly.
And she introduces this concept of burnout.
Burnout.
Which I think a lot of people can relate to these days.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's becoming more and more common.
And she's saying the burnout happens when we're exposed to this excessive stress for prolonged periods.
Yeah, for a long time.
Without enough rest and recovery.
Without giving yourselves a break.
Yeah. And it could lead to
a lot of things.
All sorts of problems.
Emotional exhaustion, cynicism, detachment, reduced productivity.
You're not functioning at your best.
Exactly. And it can even make us more susceptible to illness.
Wow.
Yeah.
So burnout is not something to take lightly.
No, it's serious.
Yeah.
And Dr. Smith, she emphasizes recognizing those early warning signs and taking steps to prevent it.
So what can we do?
Well, we can prioritize self-care. We can set realistic boundaries.
Okay. Yeah, that's important.
And we can seek support
from others.
From trusted individuals.
Yeah. And even consider making adjustments
to our work
or lifestyle. To reduce those overwhelming demands.
Create a more sustainable pace.
Yeah. I think that's really key.
It is.
It's about listening to our bodies.
Yeah.
Listening to our minds.
Tuning into those signals.
And taking action.
Before it's too late.
Before we reach that breaking point. And she also talks about the harmful effects of chronic stress. On our physical and mental health.
It can really impact our whole system.
Yeah, and so she highlights the importance of developing coping mechanisms that promote resilience.
Help us bounce back.
Yeah. So what are some of those coping mechanisms?
Well, she gives a lot of examples.
Yeah. What are some of the ones
that you found helpful? Well, there are techniques to calm the nervous system, things like deep breathing exercises, mindfulness meditation. She also talks about cultivating a stress as an asset mindset.
Oh, that's interesting.
Right.
Tell me more about that.
So instead of viewing stress as this negative thing, we can actually reframe it as a source of energy and motivation.
Wow, that's a really powerful shift.
It is. It can change our whole experience of stress.
Yeah, because if we see it as something positive, then it's not going to drain us as much.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that.
And she also suggests engaging in activities that foster a sense of awe and wonder.
Ooh, like what kind of things?
Well, spending time in nature.
Yeah.
Listening to music, creating art.
Okay.
Anything that helps us broaden our perspective.
Yeah, and feel more connected.
Something bigger than ourselves.
I love that.
It can really help reduce
those feelings of overwhelm. She talks about restorative practices.
Oh, yeah.
Like yoga nidra.
Yoga nidra.
I've heard of that, but I don't really know what it is.
So it's this guided meditation technique that promotes deep relaxation.
Okay.
And it's really effective for reducing stress.
So it sounds like there are a lot of different tools and techniques available.
There are a lot.
And it's about finding
what works best for you.
What works best for you as an individual.
And Dr. Smith encourages us to experiment to see what resonates most.
I love it.
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
Yeah. We all have our own unique needs.
Exactly.
So let's shift gears again.
Okay.
Talk about...
What do you want to talk about?
Cultivating a meaningful life.
Cultivating a meaningful life.
Which I think is something we all strive for.
We do.
But can sometimes feel elusive.
It can feel like this distant goal.
And Dr. Smith, she challenges this idea of constant happiness.
Oh, yeah.
And this happily ever after.
That fairy tale ending.
Yeah, like we see in movies.
Exactly. And she says, these unrealistic expectations.
They set us up for disappointment.
Yeah, because real life
is messy.
Yeah, it's not
a fairy tale.
It's not a straight line.
It's full of ups and downs.
It's full of challenges.
And she proposes that true happiness actually encompasses the full spectrum of emotions.
So not just the good ones?
Not just the good ones.
The hard ones too.
The challenging ones.
Yeah, it's about embracing.
Embracing the whole experience. The whole package.
Yeah, the whole package.
Not just the shiny happy parts.
Exactly.
And she encourages us to shift our focus from seeking external sources of happiness to cultivating that inner peace.
And contentment.
Yeah. So it's not about what's happening outside of us.
Not about the external circumstances. It's about what's going on inside.
What's going on within us.
Exactly.
And she talks about the importance of identifying our personal values.
Our values.
Yeah, those guiding principles.
Yeah.
That shape our choices.
That give our lives meaning.
Yeah. And she says they act like a compass.
I love that analogy.
Yeah, pointing us in the right direction.
Guiding us towards a life that feels fulfilling.
And she provides an exercise called the values check-in.
The values check-in.
Where we assess how well our actions align with our core values.
So it's about making sure we're living in accordance with what truly matters to us.
It's about walking the talk.
Walking the talk.
Yeah.
Not just talking the talk.
And Dr. Smith highlights this interconnectedness between
our values,
our goals, and our sense of purpose.
It's all connected.
Yeah. And when those things are aligned, when our actions are in harmony with our values,
we feel more fulfilled.
We experience this greater sense of meaning in our lives.
It's about finding that sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where our passions, our values,
and our actions all come together.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love that.
Dr. Smith also talks about relationships.
Relationships.
Yeah, she emphasizes that building and maintaining healthy connections.
It takes work.
It takes effort.
Yeah, relationships are not always easy.
No, they're not.
But they're so worth it.
They are.
And she talks about the importance of communication.
Communication is key. And a willingness to navigate challenges.
And conflict.
Conflict.
In a constructive way.
In a healthy way.
Yeah.
And she explores attachment styles.
Oh, attachment styles.
Yeah, those patterns that we develop in early childhood.
Right.
That can really influence our relationships.
Throughout our lives.
Throughout our lives.
Yeah, it's fascinating how our early experiences can shape our approach to relationships.
Our beliefs about relationships.
And Dr. Smith encourages us to cultivate self-awareness.
Self-awareness.
In our relationships.
So understanding our own needs.
Yeah.
Our own boundaries.
Our own patterns.
Communication patterns.
Yeah.
And also developing empathy.
For our partners.
For our partners.
Yeah, so it's about understanding ourselves.
Understanding ourselves.
And understanding our partners.
And finding ways to meet each other's needs.
In a healthy way.
In a supportive way.
And she talks about emotional responsiveness.
Oh, emotional responsiveness.
Which is being attuned to our partner's emotions.
Yeah, being present.
And responding in a way
that fosters connection and support.
It's about being there for each other.
It is.
Emotionally.
And she highlights the importance of shared values.
Oh, shared values.
In relationships.
Yeah, because if you have different values.
Yeah, it can lead to conflict.
Yeah, it can be really challenging.
It can.
To navigate those differences.
And she encourages us to approach relationships.
With intentionality.
With intentionality.
Yeah.
Recognizing that lasting love.
It takes work.
It takes effort.
Yeah, it's not a passive thing.
No, it's an active choice.
It's about choosing to love.
Love.
And be loved.
And be loved.
Every single day.
Even when it's hard.
Even when it's challenging.
Because there will be challenges.
Yeah, that's just part of...
It's part of the journey.
The journey of relationships.
Yeah.
Well, as we wrap up our deep dive into Dr. Smith's book...
I feel like we've learned so much.
I've learned so much, too.
And I'm inspired to put these tools into practice.
Yeah, me too.
In my own life.
Yeah, and before we go, let's just recap those 10 key takeaways.
All right, let's do it.
From our exploration of her work.
Number one.
You
have more power over your emotions.
Than you think.
Number two, be wary of those instant relief traps.
Yeah, they might feel good in the moment.
They might.
But they often make things worse in the long run.
Number three. Recognize those sneaky thought patterns.
Those biases.
Those biases that can sabotage your mood.
And challenge them. Number 4.
Practice getting distance from overwhelming emotions.
Yeah. Create some space.
To
observe them without judgment.
Number 5.
Number 5.
Combat rumination by shifting your focus.
To positive actions.
Ask
yourself, what would I do if I were at my best?
Number 6.
Number 6.
Cultivate a gratitude habit.
Train your brain.
To focus on the good. Number 7.
Number 7.
Expand your emotional vocabulary.
For a deeper understanding of your inner world.
And to communicate more effectively.
Number 8.
Face your fears to build true confidence.
Remember, avoidance only strengthens anxiety.
Number 9. Challenge yourself to view stress as a potential asset.
It can enhance your performance and resilience.
And number 10. Identify your values and let them guide your choices.
For a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
There you have it.
10 powerful takeaways.
From Dr. Julie Smith's book.
Why has nobody told me this before?
So much good stuff in there.
So much wisdom.
And we hope
you enjoyed our deep dive.
And found it insightful.
Remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time.
They can.
So keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep into the world of emotional well-being.
And until next time.
Take care, everyone.